Okay, so in this video, what I'd like to show you is how to create a resend in ActiveCampaign. So it sounds simple enough, but it's not as straightforward as you might hope. Basically, because you don't, or you're not able to just resend the original email, you have to create a separate entity, that involves making copies and then setting up those resends separately within ActiveCampaign. Alright, so the first thing we need to do is get hold of the original email, the one we want to resend. So I'm just looking for it here now. So there it is, E.1.5.1. So this is the original. So click on edit. And you want to proofread this and make sure it is pretty much exactly as you want it, or as much as you possibly can, because if you need to make any changes once you get into resends, then you need to do those changes within the resend as well. Okay, so once that's all done and that's all okay, we want to find the resend which I've set up within the automation here. So there it is there. So you click on that. So this is just a placeholder at the moment, it's just a draft. And we're going to replace that with the original email. That's the one that we just opened and proofread. So do that, and then we click on copy and edit there. So what we're doing is we're making a copy of the original email and then editing it. Okay, so this is it opened up within the resend placeholder. Okay, so that's the original as it was, but a copy of the original. So we're going to make some changes to this here. So it's obvious that it is a resend. So what I do is I have some stuff that's prepared there, and that basically just puts a header on there which says it's a resend. And then similarly at the bottom, you give an option in the unsubscribe part, which allows people to stop the resends if they're annoying. So we're just replacing those there. Delete the original one there. Just sort that out. Okay. So that's that done. So that is the only change within the body, basically, of the emails there. If we click on next, so we want to change the subject. We want to again make sure that it's clear that it is a resend. So we want to add the word resend to the subject. So I'll just do that there now. Okay, and what I do is, this is optional, but I usually change the subject so it's different from the original. So here in my database here, I've got all my ideas for subject lines, so I just take one of them there, copy it, and paste it. And it's pretty useful to have things in a separate document like that, so you've got easy access to them. You don't have to keep opening, the old emails or anything within ActiveCampaign, which is a bit of a drag. We'll repeat that with the pre-header text. You can use the same pre-header text. So if you don't have a pre-header text, obviously it doesn't matter, or you can change it if you want to. It's not a major thing, the pre-header text, but if you've got it, then you might as well use it. So that's that. Just copy that there again from the database or a separate document that you've got, and paste it into the pre-header text section there. Check the from is okay. So yeah, and then we can also change that on the testing section there. We're not going to test it here, but it's useful to just do that just to make sure it's consistent, so the subjects are the same on the test. So click on next. we continue to make some changes here. So this is a really important change. So this is the message name. So this is how you identify it and differentiate it from the original. So what I do with the reference is that I add a 1 to the end of the reference, and then add the word resend. And this is also very important. We want to reference which automation it's from. So in this case, I've named the automation AC 1.0, and this will become apparent why this is important later, because what will happen is we will be creating additional resends in additional automations, and we need to be able to differentiate those. Okay, so if you have Google Analytics set up, then you need to check that that is consistent with the original email. So we'll just go in there and check that. I can see actually I've made a mistake there, because it should be 1.5.1. So I'm just going to make a change there. So, but that's a good example of, you know, why it's important to check that, because you want it on the same campaign as the original. So again, in my database I have a record of these, so I can look these up. So we can see there it is 1.5.1. So what I would do is I would just copy that, you click on customize there, and paste it into there. Click done. Click save and exit, not finish, so it's save and exit, and that takes us back into the automation. Okay, so what we want to do now is delete the original resend placeholder. So it's a good idea to locate the original, and then locate locate the original, which is usually down below the bottom there. Once that's deleted, this placeholder here is going to be empty, so this needs changing. So we're now putting in the new one, the new resend. So find that, click on that there, and click save. So that is set up there. Next thing we want to do, we want to check the corresponding weights and rules, which are just below here. See, now there's gaps and spaces here, so you know they're missing because the original has been deleted and we need to replace it with a new one. So just doing that there with those two on there, click save, and then repeat that with the rules part there. So it's exactly the same, just replacing it with the new resend there, and save that. So that's that. Now, if you have a situation where you've got a resend in another automation, so it's the same resend, but it's getting triggered in another automation, again, you can't just send the same one. So within each automation, you have to have a separate resend. So that means copying it again. So a good way of doing this is by creating a template, and this is also an alternative way you can do this. So we find the resend that we've just done, and what we're going to do here is save this as a template. So this is the resend that we've just done. Okay, so we save that as a template, and that means we can then access this template from any other automation. Okay, so this is the template now, so we're going to save that, and it should pop up here in the top there. So that's it there. Okay, so I'm going to go into this other automation which I've got, which is a second resend automation. So that's that there. So within that, we want to find the resend email placeholder. So there we have it there. You click on that. So remember, this is just the draft. What it's different here is we go to create a new email. So we create a new email, and then we name it, give it the same name pretty much, with one difference, which is the reference to the automation. This is how we differentiate it. We're saying, look, it's the same resend, but it exists in this different automation, so it's basically a copy. But we do need to differentiate so there's no confusion when we're trying to set these things up later. So instead of AC 1.0, in this case it's AC 1.1. So that's the only difference in the name there. Create that there. Okay. Right, so we don't need this here, but we're going to just click on use this design. Okay. And then again, we're doing basically the same things. We're changing or adding the email subject here. So I get this from the database here. So you can use the same one, you can use a different one, you know, it just whatever floats your boat. You copy and paste that. Okay, so that goes into the email subject there, paste that there, and obviously remember to put that resend in there because it is a resend. Paste that in there. Continue. Okay. So the subject's done, so then we're just repeating that process with the pre-header. If you have a pre-header, paste that into there. So you notice on these templates that these things we're not actually replacing, we're putting them in because they don't actually exist. You can see that's actually blank there. So this stuff doesn't copy over into the in the templates. So these things need checking. Add the pre-header text there if you have it. I notice that that's wrong there, so my sender is actually bulletproof funnel framework, so I'll just change that. So that's good. So checking the subject and the test is the same, and that all looks fine now, so close that down, click on next. Again, we want to check on the Google Analytics. This is the same as before, and we want to make sure it is the same as before, so we're on the same campaign there. So just copy and paste that into there, click done. Obviously you don't need to do this if you're not tracking with Google Analytics. Message name, again, just double check that, make sure that does differentiate. Then again, subject, pre-header text, and the from. So these are all the things that we're checking that are all good to go on there. And it's save and exit, not finish, but save and exit. Okay, so just check that and save that. So it says it's currently a draft. So I don't know why it does that. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So go back in and save it again, and that should sort it out. Okay, so there it is. Yeah, so that seems okay now. Now what we want to do is we want to delete the original placeholder. So that's the new one we've just done, and the old one is usually further towards the bottom. So there it is there. So delete that, delete, done. Just check it, it's gone, and the right one is there. Okay, so then we're changing the weights and the rules again. Okay, so don't know why this happens, but sometimes, you see, what I'm expecting to happen is for these to be blank now, but they've actually got the old placeholder. So another reason why it's important that we've got that differentiator there, so we can see that we've got the correct one. So whether it's empty or whether it's got the old one in there, you want to make sure it's got the new one in there. And just repeat that again, obviously, for the rules just below there. And again, it's got the old one in there, which it shouldn't have. It should have deleted that, but it hasn't. So as I say, either way, make sure you've got the correct one in there, which is the new one, the one you just created, and it's got that differentiator in it because it's AC 1.1 as opposed to 1.0. That's why that's important. So that's just about it. It's an arse, but you know, once you've got a process, it only takes about 15 minutes, so you know, it's doable.